We're just a few days removed from a Scottie Scheffler masterclass as we continue to push towards the playoffs with the penultimate event in the FedEx Cup regular season upon us at the 3M Open in Minnesota this weekend. The past 4 winners all in the field this weekend, by the way, including Jonathan Vegas, who picked up his 4th tour win at this event last year. All of these guys pushing for a spot inside the top 70. That is the cut line for the BMW playoffs coming up later this year. Let's get you set for the action as we welcome in CBS Sports golf analyst Patrick McDonald, going to set the stage for us at the 3M. It's all teeing off at TPC Twin Cities. Patrick, it's a course that was designed by Arnold Palmer back in 2000. We saw Royal Portrush give the fellas some fits over the weekend in Northern Ireland. What does TPC Twin Cities have in store for the field?
A little bit different than Royal Portrush, I would say, but TPC Twin Cities, it's a fun course, right? One of the newer venues on the PGA Tour, has been on the tour for less than a decade now. And although it's in Minnesota, it almost kind of plays like a Florida course with how much water there is out there. There's 14 water hazards. Guys are going to have to maneuver around those to kind of get into the hole. It's a par 71, one of the longer ones on the PGA Tour as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of variance this week. You're going to see a lot of low scores, and you're going to see a lot of high scores. So which is great for the viewer. A lot of action, a lot of fireworks. And you look at some of these past winners. You have a Tony Finau, you have a Jonathan Vegas, you have a Cameron Champ, Matthew Wolff, when it was the first edition of this tournament. A lot of really good drivers of the golf ball and a lot of guys who kind of struggle on the greens every now and again. These complexes at TPC Twin Cities, pretty simple to read, pretty flat as well. And so when you're looking at guys who might play well this week, it all stems from the big stick, and that driver, both long and accurate, is required out there at TPC Twin Cities.
Well, we know we won't see Scottie Scheffler in the field after this weekend, but you will find a guy that was like very close to him on the leaderboard over the weekend. Chris Gotterup has just been the guy to pay attention to over the last couple of weekends, it feels like. He carded a 4-round 12 under to finish 3rd at the Open Championship. And as of late, Patrick, we've seen him rise all the way up to number 27 in the world right now. Is he peaking at the right time?
You got to imagine, right? I mean, this guy went over to Europe outside the top 150 in the OWGR, and as you see, he's all the way to number 27 now. I mean, talk about a great European summer vacation. It doesn't get much better than that. He held off Rory McIlroy at the Scottish Open for his 2nd PGA Tour win. You look at the statistics, he is 12th in terms of total strokes gained the last 3 months in the world, not even in this field. He ranks 2nd in the field behind only Sam Burns in that regard. And I look at his statistics, and you see the iron play get a little bit better. You see the short game get a little bit better. And to me, it screams a guy who has finally figured out how to play golf on the PGA Tour, right? He's a guy who won on the Korn Ferry Tour. The Korn Ferry Tour is a little bit different, where you have to pin your ears back. You got to get to 30 under just about every single week to have a chance. And he's slowly but surely started to clean up some mistakes, right? He's not chasing the sucker pins. He's playing a bit more conservatively when you have to. He's picking his spots much better. And he's gone from a guy who, entering the Scottish Open, was on the cusp of needing to go to the FedEx Cup fall and fight for his full-time status, to a guy potentially fighting for that U.S. Ryder Cup team.
He's been so much fun to watch over the last couple of weeks. Shout out to Rick Gaiman and you guys for putting Chris Gotterup on our radar here, because, man, he's been a lot of fun. We'll see what he can do this weekend. Maybe not the same touch that Sam Burns had this weekend. Obviously, we know Royal Portrush was not very nice to Sam Burns, but he's still hoping to push for a Ryder Cup spot. When you think about where he is right now in the standings, I believe he's 75th, and you got to be 70 to make the cut here. What's important for Sam Burns this weekend, Patrick?
It's an interesting spot for Burns, because really ever since the Masters, he's started to perform a lot better. He had a brutal first 3 months of the season, and then we've seen the iron play come alive a little bit for him. It led to that runner-up finish there to Ryan Fox at the RBC Canadian Open. He's climbed all the way up to number 15 in the Ryder Cup standings. We talked about Gotterup there, number 22 in the standings. You have another young American in Maverick McNeely, who's inside the top 12 at number 11. Wyndham Clark in the field this week, too, at number 16. So 4 Americans kind of jostling for position, trying to make a move to impress Keegan Bradley. And I'm interested in Burns because you look at his partner across the President's Cup, where he was the best player for that U.S. team at Royal Montreal, and in Rome last time the Ryder Cup was held. his partner was Scottie Scheffler, and Scottie Scheffler might have found a new partner in Russell Henley. They were great together at Royal Montreal. Their games really complement each other. And so I'm trying to figure out where Sam Burns would really fit on this team, which player he would complement, which skill sets that they require. He's obviously one of the, if not the best putter in the world, but he's got to make a push because Keegan Bradley, he's a guy who kind of got on the outside looking in with his own playing residency. When you think about Rome, he was inside that top 12, didn't get picked. I wouldn't be surprised if Bradley just goes 1 through 12, and so Burns needs to make a move starting this week.
All right, so Burns trying to push to make the Ryder Cup spot. Adam Scott is the one who needs to make the top 70 as he's trying to push to make the playoffs. He sits at 85 right now in the world standings. Patrick, he missed the cut over the weekend, and I mentioned it, top 70 make the playoffs. So when you look at a guy like, if you look at a guy like Adam Scott here, what's your gauge as he hopes to make a playoff push starting this weekend?
You know, he just has not played a lot of golf this year. Adam Scott teed it up 26 times in 2024 between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, and this week will be start number 16 for him. And you think about the signature event schedule and how it has kind of affected players' playing calendar, and Scott has played only the Valspar Championship and the Scottish Open, which a lot of guys would play no matter what. And outside of that, it's been major championships and signature events, which a lot of guys have gotten comfortable playing. You think about Patrick Cantlay, he's pretty similar. Victor Hovland, pretty similar in that boat as well. And so because of that, Scott finds himself with only 8 rounds left in the PGA Tour season on the outside looking in. I think a couple good things are he's exempt through 2026, so he's not really fighting for his full-time status. And his game does fit these last 2 tournaments. He's played well at the Wyndham Championship before. He lost in a playoff a few years back to Kevin Kisner, and he's driving the ball great, which, like I mentioned, you need around TPC Twin Cities. So he just needs to get that broomstick going. I think TPC Twin Cities is a great venue for that, but he just hasn't played a ton of golf, and because of that, he's on the outside looking in right now. Outside
looking in, but a chance to get on the inside coming up this weekend. Patrick McDonald joining us here for a look ahead to the 3M Open out in Minnesota. Patrick, we appreciate the time. Don't forget the 3M Open coming your way on CBS this weekend. Our coverage set to take over at 3 o'clock Eastern. You can stream it, as always, on Paramount+. Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. Let's continue our conversation on the 3M Open teeing off this weekend as you take a look at the odds to win the event. Look at that. It's our guy, Chris Gotterup, up top, 18-1, looking to win another event. Of course, he just won the Genesis Scottish Open a couple weeks ago, finished 3rd at the Open Championship last week. But don't count out guys like Sam Burns, Wyndham Clark, also on this list at 25-1 as we continue to push towards the FedEx Cup playoffs later this year. Let's get you some winning wagers when it comes to golf, and to do so, we've got Sportsline's betting analyst Sia Nejad joining us here. Sia, start with a layup here. Give us your pick to win when it comes to the 3M Open this weekend.
So, Haley, we just saw that odds board. Right below a couple of those 35-1 guys that you showed is Michael Thorbjornsen. That's where I'm headed, and I'm really just playing the upside of Michael Thorbjornsen, a guy who can absolutely ball strike it. When you look at his ball striking metrics, especially lately, when you look at his weighted total metrics, things of that nature, and how he can pop with the putter, I just really like Thorbjornsen. I mean, again, at alt events, he's been very good, but at regular PGA Tour stops, he's been very good as well. There was a couple names on that board, like just sneak peek to the early wedge later on tonight, like that I'm also going to like in the outright market, which we may get to in a second. But the long story short here is I like the number on Thorbjornsen. I think this is a guy that's going to be a household name in 2026. Let's be a little early in 2025.
You can get him right now at plus 3,500 to win. Let's talk about DFS, Sia. We'll start with the good. Give us your DFS good buys when it comes to the 3M Open.
Well, we're going to go to Jake Knapp, and we're also going to go to Tristan Lawrence. Again, not a household name in the case of the second name, but Jake Knapp should be a guy that's on people's radar. Just like Thorbjornsen, Knapp is a guy that can absolutely make birdies, can get hot with the ball striking, and, of course, can fill it up with the putter. I mean, this guy sometimes, you know, we've seen it recently. He's gained 10 strokes with the putter, and we know how good he is off the tee. The approach play has been there as well. So he will get some popularity, but I don't think he's going to be so popular that you you can't play him. A guy that's not going to be very popular is Tristan Lawrence, particularly because the last 3 tournaments, that would be over at the Scottish Open, the Open Championship, and the John Deere Classic. He just hasn't been very good. But prior to that, we started to see things from Tristan Lawrence where, again, we're trying to appreciate his upside. Off the tee and approach can really spike. The short game, of course, which is around the green, and the putting play can really spike for him as well. And we've seen that recently at the Rocket Classic and at the U.S. Open, where he had 2 top 15 finishes in those. So I think Tristan Lawrence is a really sneaky play that you don't have to make, but I think it can pay dividends. So those are 2 good buys, Tristan Lawrence and Jake Knapp.
Trust in the process a little bit is what it sounds like when it comes to Lawrence there. All right, let's get to some DFS bad buys, Sia. What should we not be doing this weekend?
Well, I wonder, Haley, about Chris Gotterup because, you know, he's coming off such momentum. We're playing this DFS game, and we're trying to consider, okay, like, where is everybody going and who should I fade and things of that nature. So there's so much game theory involved. And because pricing is relatively soft, I feel like Chris Gotterup is a guy that people are just going to play because, A, he's fun to watch, and B, he's been booming the last few weeks, really the last couple weeks in particular. I think, you know, pivoting to a guy like Sam Burns, who's also going to get some ownership, or maybe just pivoting out of that Chris Gotterup, Sam Burns, Matt McNeely range might be the play here. So as far as a bad buy, again, this is DFS we're talking about, and we're trying to sometimes fade the popular pick. I could see water coming to level here and Chris Gotterup finally, you know, having a bad tournament, which again, at this time, people are like, no, he's the new kid on the block. It's not going to happen. I'm willing to fade Chris Gotterup in DFS.
All right, fading Chris Gotterup there, even with the shortest odds. All right, Sia, give us your best bet then when it comes to the 3M Open.
Well, Haley, on a Tuesday afternoon, I always come with my top nationality play, or top in region, as it's stated on FanDuel. Last week, I hit Christian Bezuidenhout at top South African at plus 360. We're going with a similar number here. We're going with, again, not a household name. We're going with David Skins as top UK and Irish player. There's only 4 in this field. This is plus 320 over at FanDuel. The other guys in this field are Seamus Power, not playing well at all. Danny Willett, not playing well at all. Matt Wallace, well, he is playing well. He's plus 125 in this market, plus 120-ish over at FanDuel. And I do worry about him a little bit because his ball striking has been a little bit better than David Skins. But what I like about David Skins is that his ball striking has been good. His putter can get absolutely hot. And what I love the most is that this number, I don't think should be that big of a gap between David Skins at plus 330, plus 320, and Matt Wallace at around plus 120, plus 125. I think these guys are comparable on this score specifically, and so I do think we're getting some value with David Skins as top UK and Irish player.
Where are you getting regional bets from? Only from our Sia Nejad, only on Sportsline.
That's right.
Sia, we appreciate the time and the creativity. I hope you win this weekend. Keeping a close eye on those UK-Ireland golfers. I like that one there. More from Sia Nejad and the Sportsline crew on the Early Wedge podcast. Get you set for all the action teeing off this weekend on CBS. You can scan that QR code to get locked in right now.